Come, let us recite the sayings of the Buddha and then meditate like a Jedi. So I'm going to tap button 7. Together. As the Fletcher whittles and makes straight his arrows, so the master watches all his painful thoughts. Like a fish out of water, stranded on the shore, thoughts thrash and quiver, for how can they shake off the tyranny of desire? They tremble, they are unsteady, they wander at the will. It is good to work through them, and to transcend them brings happiness. But how subtle they are, how elusive. The task is to tame them, and by transcending them, to find happiness. With single-mindedness, the master tames his thoughts. He ends their wandering. Seated in the cave of the heart, he finds freedom. So we don't need to shave our head and become a fashion victim. We don't need to live in a physical cave. We can lead our life in such a way, meditating every 12 hours or so, and in so doing, master the Buddha's path in as little as 7 days. How can a troubled mind understand the way? If a man is disturbed, he will never be filled with knowledge. An untroubled mind, no longer seeking to consider what is right and what is wrong, a mind beyond judgment, watches and understands. My friends, a fringe benefit of authentically training in mindfulness and meditation is that our choices, utterances, and deeds flow not from calculated contrivance or from wild scatteredness, but from a centered spontaneity. We can call this the Holy Spirit, we can call this Wu Wei, we could call this going with the flow, we could call this the right effort that is effortless. It is a fringe benefit, is the key to a peaceful life. Know that the body is like a fragile jar. Whoopsie. And make a castle of your mind. In every trial, let understanding fight for you to defend what you have won. For soon the body is discarded. Then, what does it feel? A useless log of work, like a useless... Like a useless log of wood, it lies on the ground. Then, what does it know? Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your... as much as your own thoughts, unguarded. No one can help you as much, not even your mother or father. If you'd like to recite with me, simply join me on the Tube app. Of course, my timing is terrible. I just finished the recitation. So let's go over here. I find it always happy to use this symbol to signal the end of a chapter. Let's see. Shift. 1, 2. Shift. Bold and highlight. Okay. Having completed our opening recitation, let us take a moment to shift gears. It is Obi-Wan Kenobi Wednesday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after about 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Semde Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've harnessed my autistic special interest as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I could become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. I think I'm going to tap button 9. That's what I want to do. Before I do that, let's return to button 2 real quick. And do the old, let's see, let's go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see. Let's hit cut. And let's hit button 9. Let's hit paste. Okay. Make sure, oopsie, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go over here and hit enter and make sure this fits snugly on the page. It does. So what we're going to do is we're going to passively play with the idea. We're going to passively and gently bring the circumstantial into the path of impermanence. I should say, into wisdom's path of impermanence. This is the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. To do it is simple. We're going to describe the circumstantial with just a one-syllable word, lot. And we're going to silently and mentally recite it during our in-breath. That's when we are just naturally wired, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, to notice things. Therefore, we will be effortlessly noticing our circumstance. During our exhalation, when because of our parasympathetic nervous system, we're wired to physically relax, we're going to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable word change as a synonym of impermanence. Let's play with this over the next 3 or 4 breaths. We're going to shift gears now and simply bring our experience of the physical into the path of change. And so we're going to use the one-syllable version of the word physical, form. As we breathe in, we're going to silently and mentally recite form. And as we exhale again, we're going to silently and mentally recite change. Okay, here we go. We shift gears from the physical to the interpersonal. One syllable word to describe our experience of the interpersonal is feels. So as we breathe in and we breathe out, silently and mentally we utter feels change. We now turn our attention to the fourth base of mindfulness, our own mind, that which has evolved to perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. That's a whole lot of stuff going on. That's beyond a 3-ring circus. So brace yourself to involuntarily utter the phrase, no duh, but mind is always changing. It's jumping about like a kitty cat with the zoomies. And so our job is not to fight that or not to scold that, just to be aware of that. Because the impermanence of perceptions, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings makes letting go of them easier and makes them seem at least a little bit less horrible and less defining. So we silently and mentally recite the words mind and change in harmony with our next 3 or 4 inhalations and exhalations. Or to paraphrase a line from the 1990s movie, The Fifth Element, yes, like grandfathers say, it no rain every day. One moment, TV, please. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, and what font is this? This is 16. Okay. Let's go over here. And let's hit Arial. I'm not talking about punching a mermaid. It's at 16. Okay, and of course I'm editing in real time, which is okay for my friends on the clock app and probably boring for my friends on, I'm sorry, let's just move forward. So here we go. How does this business work? Well, Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, so we should not be surprised when 90% of meditation teachers and 90% of meditation books tell us to rely upon the medial and dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to actively focus and actively analyze. Doing so exhausts the front of our brain that we begin presenting with symptoms of depression, no less triggering our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression. Fortunately, neither the amygdala nor our prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Consider, if you will, the lowly spinal cord. Its fancy name is autonomic nervous system. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we've evolved to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, described by some as the sympathetic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way. It has evolved to help us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. It's evolved to help us to notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. And instead of picking and choosing, we are to vulnerably notice whatever comes up, be it external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Well, what are we to do with that which we notice? Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we have evolved to automatically access the lower bit and the upper bit of that same spinal cord. This is described as our parasympathetic nervous system, and it has evolved to help us to physically relax and mentally release that which we noticed during our previous inhalation to such a degree that it can fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and even less defining. So it's very simple. Mindfulness is simply noticing mind's antics and is best practiced by silently and mentally reciting the verb watch each time we feel air enter our nostrils. Meditation is simply relaxing into mind's fleetingly non-graspable nature, Every time, and it's best practiced by silently and mentally reciting the verb rest each time we feel our air leave our nostrils. So together, let us practice right now. If you, like me, are prone to arthritis, you may wish to gently adjust your legs every 15 minutes or so. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about every 5 minutes or so. As we feel our lungs, what's the word I'm looking for? As we feel our lungs swell with breath, silently and mentally recite the verb watch. As we feel our chest somewhat sink as we exhale, silently and mentally recite the verb rest. And so we're shifting from nostril breathing to chest breathing. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. For I tend to check for questions about every 5 minutes or so. We now bring the four bases of mindfulness into the path of loving kindness, which is the essence of morality or sila. Let us begin by bringing the mind into the path of loving kindness by wishing that all beings everywhere experience great joy. So as we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite the noun joy. And as we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite all. Now, it's not our job to believe or to visualize. We're just passively playing with these words in harmony with our breathing. But that strengthens our neural pathways responsible for empathy. We now bring our experience of the interpersonal into the path of loving kindness by wishing that all beings experience interpersonal peace. So as we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite the word peace. As we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the word all. Now let us bring the experience of the physical into the path of loving kindness or metta. It's simple. The easiest way to practice the wishing love that all beings experience optimal health is to silently and mentally recite the word health as we breathe in, and silently and mentally recite the word all as we exhale. We come now to the final quarter, where we bring all circumstances of all beings into the path of loving kindness or metta. Let us simply wish that all beings everywhere enjoy safety. Safety from genocide. Safety. Let's see. Safety from lack. Safety from hunger and from thirst and from nakedness and from treatable illness and exploitation of every form. So as we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite the word safe. As we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the word all. You've taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In about 5 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return. I think my math is off. Anyway, in 5 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's afternoon meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.